What's up, Multiverse? Dr. Dave here. Welcome to the Geek Lounge. So today's video is going to be a little bit shorter than usual because I didn't get any footage this past weekend. Let's just backtrack a little bit so I can explain for you guys. This past weekend, I attended a small con here in the UK called London Anime and Gaming Con. And for the most part, I had a pretty good time, but as I said, it was a small con, so in my opinion, there wasn't a great deal to do there, and I also wasn't a fan of the venue, if I'm being honest. Because it was actually held in a hotel, Novotel London West, and you actually had to go to different areas of the hotel to experience the full con. Up and down stairs, going through corridors to other rooms, like nothing too elaborate. You didn't have to go from one side of the hotel to the other, but I still thought it was just a little bit weird. And speaking of weird, it was actually a 3-day con, which is very strange for small cons. They normally run 1 or 2 days, not 3. That's normally reserved for the bigger cons, but to be perfectly honest, the Friday was just a preview day, so not all of the guests were there and not every area of the con was open. And on that preview day, I felt things worked out fairly well. They kind of managed the queues, etc, etc. It was busy, but not that busy. But Saturday was absolutely heaving. And that's the main reason I didn't get any footage. I really should have filmed some stuff on the quieter Friday and then finished up on the Saturday. But yeah, it was absolutely manic, man, heaving. Tons and tons of people. I imagine the con did pretty well with its ticket sales. But as you guys know, I always like to do some Funko Pop hunting at these cons. And there were only 2 vendors. They were in the area that only opened up on the Saturday as well, which was downstairs. And to be honest, they didn't really have anything too crazy. So I was like, let's not bother filming anything. I mean, I was thinking about maybe doing a vlog style video for the cons in the future. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that. But yeah, I do wonder if that con has now outgrown the venue. They've been around for a few years now. I think they've always been at Novotel London West, but they do other cons up and down the country. If you guys do download the app Anime League and go to the calendar, you can see all the different cons they do up and down the UK. And they always do 2 shows a year in London. The next one is sometime in August. I can't remember the dates off the top of my head. Again, if you download that app and check the calendar, you will see the dates, or maybe I'll throw a graphic up there for you guys. I'll be patiently waiting, or should we say impatiently waiting, to see what guests they get in August. Because as you guys know by now, I love to get my Funko Pops signed, and that is the predominant reason I do attend cons, to meet guests and, as I said, get Funko Pops signed. And they had a couple of cool guests at this one. Craig Fairbrass was there, DC Douglas, Erica Schroeder, but the main guest I was meeting was Robert McCullum, who has been the English dub voice actor for a ton of villains throughout the years in anime. And just before I show the signed haul off to you guys, a real quick word on Rob McCullum. What an awesome freaking dude. So energetic, talkative. It makes you feel like you got your money's worth, you know. Sometimes you'll meet guests, and I've had it before, like Ewan McGregor, Helen Bonham Carter. They're like major stars. I got to spend literally a few seconds talking to them, and that was it. They like move you on, and you spent a lot of money to get something signed by them. But I kind of understand that is what it is. Some other guests, you kind of feel they're just there to, like, you know, get your payment for an autograph and then kind of move you on. I've not had too many bad experiences, and to be perfectly honest, every single voice actor I've met has always been absolutely awesome. But yeah, Rob McCullum, as I said, super cool dude, and maybe I am betraying his trust a little bit here, because when I actually got to the con, so I got there maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I got inside after the venue opened up, like with all the queuing and whatnot. And like the guests were all right there in the front, which was also a bit weird. Like in the main foyer, the guests are straight there, so it kind of caused a bit of a bottleneck. But hey, I don't organise cons, so that's not really for me to say. But he was there straight away, already signing stuff. Some guy was getting a bunch of stuff signed at the front of the queue. There was maybe like 3 or 4 people ahead of me, and then they, for whatever reason, just decided to leave. So I was second in the queue. I had my money prepared, because some people will charge slightly extra for Funkos. They'll then charge extra for quotes. And he had that on his pricing list, but he actually didn't charge me for the quotes. The woman wasn't too sure. She was like, I thought quotes were included. And then he kind of, as he was like doing the autos on the guy in front of me, like finishing up with him, he just said, it's, like, normally it's for like elaborate long quotes. He was like, don't worry, I won't charge you. I can't remember what he said. He said something along the lines of, it's early in the day, there's not a lot of people here yet, just don't tell anyone that I didn't charge you for quotes. So I guess I am now telling you guys and maybe betraying his trust. But you know what? It's happened to me in the past where I have paid for a quote and then I've heard someone else didn't pay for a quote. I guess it just depends when you meet the guest, at what time. But guys, let's get into my signed Funko haul then, starting with this one, Hero Killer Stain from My Hero Academia. This is now, I think, the 8th My Hero Academia Funko Pop that I've got signed, and we got it with this quote here, which I'm going to have to read if I can as well, because his writing, like his handwriting is not the best. But actually, just before I mention to you guys what that quote is, if you can't read it, to be perfectly fair, I have had voice actors say to me in the past when they're doing quotes, they do prefer to use the thinner paint pens as opposed to the slightly thicker ones. I kind of have, I think it's either the medium or just thick. I know there's extra thick, and then you get the extra thin ones, or just thin, whatever they're called. I can't entirely remember. I do have some thin ones, but I didn't actually bring them with me. Like Rob McCallum didn't mention this himself, but that's why I'm trying to be a little bit fair, because when it is a slightly thicker paint pen, you know, especially if your handwriting isn't the best or the tidiest, it can be hard to you know, try and make things as neat as possible. But yeah, the quote, if you couldn't read it, says, "Hero, I will reclaim that word. Just try and stop me, fakes." I couldn't even read it there myself. Pretty famous quote I loved. Killer Stain, awesome character. And he did also draw this kind of sword here on the side with some blood splatter as well. Very, very cool. Next up, we have Jalal Fernandez from Fairy Tail. This is my 4th signed Fairy Tail Funko Pop now into the collection. And I actually went with a kind of split quote. If anyone's seen the show, they know this quote is actually quite long, but there's no way it would have fit on this Funko Pop. So I asked him if he could pick like 1 or 2 lines which he liked the most out of this quote, and these were the lines he picked. Again, I'm gonna have to read it. So, "The loneliest people are the kindest, and the saddest people are the wisest." I just went with the same color scheme. I thought it just kind of made sense with his hair. And then guys, I finally have a second signed One Piece Funko Pop into the collection. Very happy about that. I'll be getting tons more later this year. More on that though in just a few minutes. So we have Don Quixote do Flamingo here with the quote, "Don't worry, I'll kill everyone." He said it was his favorite quote. We went with the white, the red, and the pink. Unfortunately, I didn't get the Jolly Roger on the side of the Don Quixote Pirates. He did it for the guy in front of me, but I don't know if he paid extra for it. I wasn't really thinking at the time, but I was like, ah, man, that would have been pretty cool to have that Jolly Roger there on the side. But you know what? I'm still happy nonetheless. I think it looks really, really cool. And speaking of cool, guys, I have my first signed Black Clover Funko Pop into the collection here with Julius. I absolutely love this character, and I've decided for all the signed Black Clover Funko Pops I'm going to get, I'm going to go with quotes of their powers. So here we have Mana Zone, Chrono, Stasis, Gregoria, but there is something doubly cool about this, guys. Rob told me this was the first Julius Funko Pop he has signed in the whole of Europe. He's of course signed a few in the US, but the first one he signed in Europe. And he said, "Do you want me to write that on the side?" And I said, "You know what? I will take that claim." Very, very cool. Afterwards, I was thinking, you know what? It's maybe not such a big flex, because I'm pretty sure in the likes of France, Germany, Spain, I mean, you see it on Crunchyroll, there's various different dubs, right? How many of those people do actually watch the English dub? So a lot of those guys probably won't know who Rob McCallum is, unless they do watch the English dub. But over here in the UK, if people do watch the dub, very, very cool that I have the first signed Julius Funko Pop in the UK. Not necessarily the first British person to get it, pardon me, because maybe someone British got one signed in the US, but definitely the first one to get signed in the UK and Europe. So I was always going to take that. Very, very cool. Very, very happy. Yeah, don't really know what else to say. What I actually can say, guys, is that is unfortunately going to be my final convention for the next 3 or so months. Normally I would attend a couple of cons between now and MCM London at the end of May, especially Comic-Con Liverpool. It is such an awesome show. They're moving into the M&S Bank Arena this year, so it's going to be bigger than ever. But, and it's a big but, if you guys have seen the first wave of guests for MCM at the end of May, this one's going to be really expensive for me, because some of the One Piece voice cast is coming. My dreams and prayers have been answered, guys. Colleen Clinkenbeard, who is of course Luffy. We've got Chris Sabat, the legend in the dubbing industry, who of course voices Zoro. Lucy Christian, who voices Nami. Sonny Strait, who voices Usopp. Ian Sinclair, who voices Brooke. And Mike McFarlane, who does voice Buggy the Clown. And these guys, especially Chris and Colleen, have voice tons of different characters. They have tons of Funko Pops out there. I mean, Chris Sabat, you know, he is Piccolo, he is Vegeta, he is All Might, he is Yami from Black Clover. That's what I mentioned earlier. I will be getting some more Black Clover Funko Pops signed. Of course, Zoro, you know, Colleen is Charlotte from Black Clover. I'm just trying to think of them all off the top of my head. Like, all of these guys have played so many different characters. There's so many different Funko Pops. A lot of Funko Pops I already own. So I'm like, already the first wave of guests, I'm getting tons of things signed. That's already going to be a major expense for me. They then did announce Emily Swallow, who is of course the armorer in The Mandalorian, and oh goodness gracious me, his name has escaped me. The guy who is in the Mandalorian suit, so not Pedro Pascal, who of course just does the voice. If you guys didn't know, he's not really often in the suit. It is almost like a voice role for him now. But this guy, let me just look up his name real quick. Brendan Wayne, that was it. I was thinking, is it Wayne something? Brendan Wayne. They have both been announced, which I think is really, really cool. I'm going to get my Armorer Funko Pop signed, and certainly one of the Mandalorian Funko Pops signed by him as well. So that is another expense. And this is literally the first wave of guests, guys. So yeah, I think MCM is going to be crazy this year, at least for me. It was already crazy back in October with Critical Role and a bunch of other different guests. It feels like it's going to be even crazier this time because I absolutely love One Piece. I kind of feel they may try and get some of the live action cast in as well, and maybe even a few more names. I've been communicating with some of the One Piece VAs on Twitter. I've had favourable responses. Mike McFarlane was actually one of them, who said he'd love to come back to the UK, and then like 2 weeks later he got announced, so I'm pretty sure he already knew he was coming. But the VA for Whitebeard, the VA for Big Mom have said they'd love to come over, so I'm kind of thinking maybe more might come. I'm a little bit gutted Eric Vale isn't coming. He is my favourite voice actor, who of course voices Sanji, who is my favourite character in One Piece. I know he had hip surgery not too long ago, so maybe he still can't like travel internationally, but he's also like the original crew, the like only original crew member who is now missing from the East Blue saga, because I will be taking my Going Merry to get signed by all those guys. So we'll have to try and catch I should say, Eric Vale. He's not a Pokemon. Catch Eric Vale at a later date. But yeah, I can't wait for that, guys. But yeah, that means I'm going to have to save up quite a bit of money. Unfortunately, skip Comic-Con Liverpool. There's like, they've got a great guest list, like tons of Lord of the Rings cast members there this year, but there's nothing that's like absolutely pulling me in to like be must go, even though I love going to that one, and it will be their biggest one ever this year. And then, of course, going forward, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. It's a great con. If you haven't attended it, I highly recommend it. But you know what? I can save myself a few £100 on hotels, probably £100 or so on travel. So it just really kind of makes sense to keep that money towards the autos and things, because it does end up getting really expensive, especially if you get quotes and whatnot. So yeah, that's why I'm unfortunately not going to be attending any cons, unless we get some crazy announcements between now and then, and I may have to try and shift the budgets. It does look like MCM at the end of May is going to be my next con. But yeah, guys, I have rambled on long enough, so let me wrap up this video and say, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with me here on the Geek Lounge. It is very much appreciated, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If so, be sure to give it a thumbs up and drop some comments below. What signed Funko Pops have you guys got recently? And as always, we've got plenty more content on the way for you guys. The usual Funko, Lego, statues, figures, and TCGs all incoming. Speaking of Funkos, I will be catching up with some of my Funko Pop parcels later this week. Speaking of TCGs, we'll be opening up some more Naruto Kaiju and Jujutsu Kaisen Kaiju cards later this week, or going into next week as well. And then just tons more content on the way for you guys, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that and more. What is the easiest way to stay tuned, you ask? It's very simple. Subscribe, hit click, smash that subscribe button, and enable those notifications so you don't miss out on any of that future content. Guys, thanks again for watching today's video, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out, nerds!